Hello, my name is Emma Dickson and I'm a registered dance movement psychotherapist and professional dance artist based in Cardiff. And today I'm going to be sharing with you a little bit about the work I do with Neoteric Dance Company, where I bring together my dance movement psychotherapy and dance performance work together to create works around mental health, social issues, as well as topics that are important to our audience members, our participants, as well as the dancers and artists that I work with. In 2017, I founded Neoteric Dance Company. This was so I could create works that I was really passionate about. Whilst I was training to be a dance movement psychotherapist, and in the first few years of qualifying, it became really clear to me that I was passionate about supporting the armed forces community, supporting those who are still serving, veterans, and the families that support a loved one in the armed forces. In 2018, I was awarded some money by the Wallingford and District Royal British Legion branch, so I could create my first professional dance film, Day to Day I'm Fighting to Stay Alive. This piece explores one veteran's story of leaving the armed forces and having a diagnosis of combat-related PTSD. This 7-minute dance and spoken word film explores this one veteran's experience of leaving the armed forces and returning to civilian life, and the struggles and pulls and discomfort that he feels in this transition. It was through the interview that I conducted with this veteran and his wife and one dance artist that it really became apparent the struggles that he was facing. And it is in that interview process that I started to utilise many of my dance movement psychotherapy skills: active listening, allowing him to freely express how he felt, creating and holding a space that was safe and confidential, acknowledging and validating his experiences and how he felt, and most importantly, bringing it back to the body, asking him where he felt this pain, where he felt this emotion. What colour did it have? What did it feel like? Did it have a shape? Did it make his body move in a particular way? It was through this short exploration throughout the interview that allowed me to really understand his lived experience of being in combat and then returning to civilian life. Fast forward to 2019, and I was awarded National Lottery Art Council England funding and an artist residency at the Island in Bristol to create Through Her Eyes, which is a 13-minute dance and spoken word exploration of the stories held by the wives and the family members where a veteran has returned home and has a diagnosis of combat PTSD and additional mental health issues. Through interviews over the phone, through Skype and in person, myself and the artists I worked with were able to get a real sense of what these women were experiencing, what they held in their bodies, what they witnessed in their daily life, and what was going on for them, and the struggles and the conflict and the unhappiness, but also joy and hopefulness that they felt within their internal and external worlds. We also can't discount the fact that as artists and as people, we have our own initial responses to what we hear, our own felt sense, our own stories. And so within the movement that we created, we are not only sharing and carrying and shaping the movement and the stories of these women or that one veteran, but we are also carrying, shaping, and acknowledging our own felt sense, our own stories, our own lived experience. So within both films, Day to Day I'm Fighting to Stay Alive and Through Her Eyes, we are sharing individual and a collective story. When it came to the creative side of making our two films, I followed the structure of a dance movement psychotherapy session. There was an opportunity to have a verbal check-in. We then did some warm-up. We then had an opportunity to listen to what was said in these interviews and what was fed back to us, what was said, and have an opportunity to move these, allow our bodies to take on these stories and to see where they sat and where they were held within us. From here, we then took and nurtured the bits that were most important to us, the things that we resonated with, or the things that actually we had no connection with, and we wanted to explore what that disconnect may have been. And it is in that moment that we started to formulate our movement. We then went on to find an antidote to how we may have been feeling, so that these movements had some resolve, a way of finding peace. These were not necessarily endings, they were just moments of pause, a moment to reflect, and a moment to reconsider. The creative process then ended with a cool down and a verbal checkout, and making sure that everyone who was in that space in that time left feeling safe and held. It is really important for me that this work gets shared both in traditional performance spaces, but more importantly, non-traditional performance spaces, so that the wider public get to learn about what combat post-traumatic stress disorder is about, to break down those myths and misconceptions about mental health generally, but that of the armed forces, to work within and to share our work with the armed forces directly, to break down any stigma that may be held within their own community directly, and to engage with other artists and practitioners who maybe want to have a more embodied approach to their artwork. If you are interested in finding out more about what I do as a dance movement psychotherapist, wellbeing practitioner, or my work that I do with Neoteric Dance Company, then please do contact the event organisers, who I'm sure will be able to pass on any questions or comments that you have. Thank you ever so much for listening, and I hope you have a good rest of the day.